Right, so I'll do the intro on this one for a change, seeing as you never let me do it on EGTE. Right, welcome to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. I'm Mark, the host, Mark Allison, and as promised on the last episode with Matthew, we have another guest, and there's no pressure on this one. He is only the finest podcast host in the electrical industry, bar none, and I can be the official judge to that because I've listened to virtually every single podcast that has ever been released by any electrical content providers, and this man with me now is numero uno, and it is Sam from the Electrician's Guide to Everything. How are you this evening, Sam?
I'm very well, mate. I don't know if I deserve that intro. It's nice of you to say, but I'm a little bit embarrassed by it, but whatever.
Don't be embarrassed because it's true. It's true. And it needed saying, to be fair, because you bring a lot to the electrical industry, and I don't think you get the credit you deserve for it. And I'm going to start right from the outset because you've taught me one thing, and that is people don't listen to the end of podcasts. So I want to get this in nice and early. I don't think you even know this, but through the Electrician's Guide to Everything, you have brought 43 people into new employment through the COVID pandemic. So that's 43 apprentices. Wow. I mean, you said right at the start you don't think apprentices listen to the Electrician's Guide to Everything. That's wrong, because they do. And a number of employers have come forward and taken lads and lasses on into jobs directly because of the exposure you gave to Apprentice One-to-One. Right at the outset, when you didn't have to do anything at all with it because it was just me talking nonsense. So, cheers for that, mate. It needs a bit of gratitude there from those people to you guys and myself as well.
Well, it's a really nice thing that I'm quite humbled by that because actually, when we set out to do the podcast, it was just a bit of fun, and it's nice to see that that bit of fun's turned into something where we've given, even if we got one person in, that would have been like, I don't know. I'm a little bit taken back by that. That's a lovely thing. But what I will say is, it isn't just me. It's and historically, it hasn't just been me. It's been the EGTE crew, the historic crew of Neil, and before that, it was me and Rick. Now we've got the new crew, Amy, Nick, and yourself, obviously. It's just it's a bit of fun, and if it resonates with people, then we're doing the job right, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a great podcast. It always has been, and it has put a lot of people into Apprentice One-to-One. Because at the beginning of my journey with all this, a lot of people, surprisingly, didn't want to be involved, and you guys straight from the outset pushed it across all of your social media, got manufacturers involved who would probably have never ever spoken to me. So you are largely responsible for a lot of what's happened, and we're getting on for a total of 300 people now. So who knows how many of those indirectly you've helped get into jobs as well. But primarily the reason for getting you on, because I want to hear your side of your take on the apprenticeship system, because you've had a union before, you've been out on the coalface, you've spoken to so many people in this trade. If anybody has spoken to electricians in this game, it is you. You've spoken to all these other social media influencers, people on the ground through your union days, and even now out on site. So I wanted to know what you think of the system. You're there seeing it as it is with these NVQs and AM2. We've spoke about it on Monday Club before and privately, how you can go off and buy these things. So what's your thought on how it is right now out on the coalface?
Well, all I can really say at this stage is when I started out as an electrician, I was older. So I was in my mid-20s and I went to Bromley College. I stood there in the queue questioning whether I was going to do it or walk away, do it or walk away. So all these young kids in the queue, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, for some reason, I saw it through, and I've done every Monday for 3 years going college. And the other days, I worked on social housing, agency jobs. I worked for free. I worked for I'd done whatever it took to get experience and get my apprenticeship over the line. Now, would I say that that I got my qualifications legitimately. I went through college and got my qualifications through the college. Whilst I was at the college, they was quite loosey-goosey with getting you over the line.
Mm.
So it wasn't like a strict bar that you had to meet to get your qualifications. If you got there or thereabouts, they're going to help you over that line by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
And at the time, that's brilliant because actually that is my goal. I want that gold card no matter what. I was obsessed with getting that gold card. It's the proudest moment of my life until I obviously got married and had a baby, that I had my gold card. I was like, I've done it. I've fucking achieved something. Sorry, can we swear on this?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Yeah, and I was like, I've achieved something. Bloody hell. Like, and I was so chuffed with it. The problem with it was, didn't really know what I was doing when I come out of college in any capacity. I could do a bit of trade, do a bit of conduit. I could do any type of containment to a good level, quick, neat, well thought out. You could give me a set of drawings and I'll smash it in for you. And I sort of, when it comes to like two-way switching and stuff like that, I was like, whoa, leave me out. Grid switches, leave me out. Do you know what I mean? I was do everything not to do those type of jobs. And I sort of got stuck into just being a metal muncher, as it's called in the trade. I'm sure everyone's heard that term. Metal munching is essentially just doing all the containment on commercial jobs. And I've done that for years and years, just really shying away from anything outside of containment, you know. And it wasn't till recent years, and I'll be very honest about this, it wasn't until recent years when I really started taking it seriously and throwing myself back at these jobs that I would have shied away from before, and gone for that. So it's been a long process of me trying to get up to speed, because my apprenticeship was so disjointed. I wouldn't say it was shit, because it was me running my own apprenticeship. I didn't really work for a company. I worked for a couple of geezers here and there. I worked for a couple of agencies here and there, a couple of direct firms here and there. I worked for free, and I've done all these things to gain experience, but I was really not shown the right way to do things most of the time. So so one of the biggest firms out there that take on apprentices is T. Clark.
Yes.
Now, all of their guys, so they've got a bit of a metal munching culture, I'd say. They'd like to do a bit of metal munching and stuff like that. But what you can guarantee is their guys know the game inside and out, because they're all lifers on T. Clark. So they've been T. Clark man and boy. So when they get an apprentice on there, that apprentice gets arm put around him and shown the way. And I worked on so many T. Clark jobs over the years, and I always look at their apprentices and I always say, you don't know how lucky you are to have a firm like that and the wealth of experience around you. It was funny. Years and years ago, I worked on a job in Selfridges for T. Clark's. It was £175 a night. It was just on the outside of the recession. I just qualified as a spark, and it was rough because it was night work. It's 175 quid, and you was there all the hours. So it weren't just like a bit of a touch. You was there knocking it out, and I was working with a young apprentice there. Good lad he was. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was a good lad, and he was an apprentice there. Then about 2 years ago, I was at the Google job over King's Cross. Is it King's Cross or St Pancras? Around there somewhere.
I think that's where they built it, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've got a massive Google complex. And I bumped into him up there because I was working on a T. Clark job again. And he now does all the testing. He's looking at becoming going into the office because he's coming to the end of his usefulness as a tester.
Brilliant.
Because, he's outgrown it a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, bloody hell. And he's still there, man and boy. Now he's 20 odd. He's got all his tickets and that. And I guarantee you won't find a better tester. You won't find a better metal muncher.
No.
And that's the value of getting a proper apprenticeship with someone like that. Like a T Clark apprenticeship for commercial. I
Yes.
think they're probably offer some of the best apprenticeships. From my experience, I might be completely wrong, but I'll always look at them with envy and think, you know what, you don't know what you got.
You're not the only person I've heard say that's about them, Sam, and that's I've had experience of that as well. You are spot on, and there's a lot of apprentices who've probably gone through that process who haven't realised quite how lucky they are. Because for everyone in a company like T Clark, there's maybe 20 or 30 who are just like struggling around, probably going through 3 or 4 employers trying to get through. For every great college, you've got like Tresham. There's probably 5 or 6 that are terrible. And it's a system that needs investment for me. It needs time. It needs something, because the number of apprentices who've been getting in touch with me basically saying that their employers are mugging them off and not letting them go to college, or just having them do basic labouring jobs and not an actual electrical apprenticeship, and that they're not being taught properly in the colleges either. I mean, I know we've had the COVID thing, so a lot of colleges haven't been open for the last, over the last 6 months, but even so before that. So, it's a system which we're holding up as an industry standard, but it doesn't seem that industry's looking after it very well, I don't think.
It's a funny thing, because actually, I wonder what the problem actually is. Is it the governance of the programs, like the apprentice program? Is it the mindset of many of the companies that employ apprentices have got it all wrong? They're trying to, like, instead of having a balance of, we've got to make money out of you, but we want to invest in you and produce the best spark we can. It's a well-known thing when you come out your time as an electrician with a company, that you have to leave that company straight away, because they'll never give you the money that you think you deserve when you come out your time. They're always like, no, well, I'll put you through college. I don't really need to pay you the same as the other sparks. And that causes resentment and stuff like that. And I wonder if it's a mentality with the companies not getting that balance right and putting the effort and the time into these guys and really looking at them as an investment. Because like Neil says, he takes on apprentices to mold them to what he needs for his particular type of work. Now, he says, like, it's very difficult for him to find someone who has done an apprenticeship somewhere else to come in and gel with his team, be up to scratch with this type of work they do. So he will invest in that person to bring them on, give them a nice avenue to earn. Now, I think that's a really good form, but I don't know if it works outside of just a rail. It's a great idea, and it's kind of like what T Clark do, I suppose. So maybe it does. I'm talking my thoughts as they come in. I think a well-run apprentice program from the company, with the view that you're investing in your company by growing a spark that knows your company's ethos, its standards, everything about your company is ingrained in that apprentice. That's invaluable when they come out their time, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got someone who you've trained to be the actual employee you want, ultimately, there's nothing better. And you make a lot of great points in what you've just said, Sam, because you've got experience on the coal face of what's actually going on out there with sparks going through an apprenticeship. And this is something I've tried to get into Matthew, that he's had a job at the end of it sat waiting for him. But there's a lot of lads out there who don't. And that's why I was asking him about courses that you can do to make yourself more attractive to an employer after you've done your apprenticeship. And it's not all rosy, is it? That's the harsh reality of it all. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you specifically, because you have a lot of knowledge working in the agency sector and the route you've had into the trade and through your union days of what it is actually like. And I think we need to have some honest discussion in the industry of what it is actually like, rather than everybody trying to level up with training. We've got a bigger fire in the game that we need to get put out, for me.
Yeah, I think the feed into the industry is a problem. I think It's funny, today I was talking to a lovely young lady called Danny from Instagram. I know you're in contact with her as well.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a late in life change when it comes to her career. She's stepping away from being a mum, and now she wants to be a spark. And she had no idea of how the industry worked, what to do. She wants to be a domestic electrician. Who does she talk to get there? What experience does she need? And she's signed up to one of these short courses. And is that wrong? It's not wrong.
Mm.
But is it going to be useful for her? And unfortunately, I don't think it is, because they're sold a dream on these short courses that is just not viable. There is absolutely no way that you can do a short course and go on site, and even a free an electrician's mate who's been in the game 3 years will know more than you, even with all your qualifications, after a 12-week course.
Mm. Not a
Do you
chance.
know what I mean? I've worked with them on sites before, and sling them a Zeb. I say, "Oh, go and grab us some Zebs." What's a Zeb?
Mm.
And it's little things like that, the nuances that you're not going to pick up. And when it comes to working in people's homes, you've got to be. You can't just be slinging it in. You really got to have the knowledge to be able to go into someone's house and do a job without ruining their house. That's a big responsibility as well. But what you need is time on the tools over a prolonged period of time before you're allowed to go out. Now, the whole idea with the apprentice training route at the moment is you do your coursework, and you do your qualifications. You get to a point where you're tested on your knowledge, so you learn your core knowledge, your Ohm's law and all that sort of stuff. You sit down, you learn your cable calcs and all that, how to use a book properly, all them things, which is great. It's good stuff to know. But where the short courses fail and the normal course wins is because if I say to you, here's 8 hours of learning, right? Here's 8 hours of learning on a particular topic. Go and practice that next week. I'll see you Monday.
Mm.
And we'll start another topic. But a short course goes, here's 8 hours of learning this topic. I'll see you tomorrow. Here's another 8 hours on this topic. I'll see you tomorrow. And by the end of you've got the knowledge, but you haven't had time to put that to practical use.
Yes.
And that for me is it is the biggest failing in the short courses. There's people that could come out of the army with loads of knowledge, but haven't got them the set of standards for a gold card. I know there's something going on with that at the moment.
Yeah.
But that to one side. Historically, someone comes out of the army, they don't have the set of qualifications to get a gold card. They do a short course, bam, they get their gold card. Great, because they're going to know their job inside and out.
Yes.
No one trains better than the army. End of.
No.
So for me, they do have a place. But these poor people that are being sold a dream, do the short course, go out, be an electrician, earn 200 quid a day. You're insane. And if you're doing that, you're irresponsible. But you've been sold the dream. How do you know? How do you know?
Exactly. You've said that better than I ever could. And we've got some prime examples of people who have done short courses and come through into the trade, and it's been perfect for them. That's Stuart Cater, who's kind of gone down that route a bit, and Jonathan Steed as well. They've also...
I think David Savory.
Yeah.
His first course was that, I think.
Yeah.
And then he went back and done it properly.
He's got an electrical engineering qualification as well, hasn't he? So, I mean, it does have a place. But the issue is, as you said, when it's sold to the masses, people coming out of, say, working in a supermarket or a bank with no prior technical training or knowledge at all, to be told, you can earn 40, 50, 60. The numbers get higher every time, don't they? £1,000 a year than an electrician. And we can get you there in a matter of weeks. And then at the same time, we're asking like small domestic traders why they aren't employing apprentices anymore. And they're like, well, hang on a minute. we're competing against all these people who've come out, sold this dream, who are desperately trying to get the money back, working for not very much. And the customers don't see the difference. They don't see the difference between us and them. How the hell are we supposed to employ anybody and make a living for ourselves? And it's a kind of a vicious cycle where we get the money in the industry is there. It's a £1 billion industry, the electrical trade, but there's parts of it that are having money taken out through training companies, and even the CPSs have an element of responsibility in that as well. That's preventing the apprenticeship system from thriving like it used to many years ago. I think.
Well, my biggest problem with the apprentice system is twofold. So obviously the short courses. So even if you do your MVQ and your AM2, right? So we know that there's companies out there right now where you can send them 1,500 quid. They send you a portfolio. You sling in a few pictures. You sign the bottom. You send it back. You've done your MVQ level 3. That makes a mockery of the system. And before, like, even without that, if I get last year's MVQ level 3 off of someone and I copy it and I change the pictures, I'll copy it in my own handwriting or whatever. I'll change the pictures. I hand that back in. Teacher's not going to go, this is last year. So this is Stuart Matthews from last year. They don't care. It's got to get them over the line. Got to get them over the line. That's what's important at a college. Not all, but generally, in my experience, it was what it is. Get it over the line. Give him last year's one. Get him to copy it. Get it over the line. And then the AM2. Now, both these ideas, the MVQ level 3 and the AM2, are fantastic ideas in practice. So if you really put together a portfolio with written understanding of the jobs you're doing over a prolonged period of time and presented that as your know-how, it's the only real way you can present wide variety of work over a period of time is with a portfolio. Fantastic. That's a fantastic tool. But how many people do that legitimately? Oh, I would venture half, 50%.
Probably. Yeah, best.
Then the AM2. So now here's the AM2. People will say it's not hard enough, then it gets harder, and then it gets easier. Not interested in the standard of it. What I'm saying is the AM2 is a brilliant idea. Here's your final test. Knock this out. Get this done to the right standard. Follow the right guidelines and get it done correctly. And we will give you an AM2 qualification. Off you go. Go and get your ticket. Brilliant. Well, the thing is, it's not particularly difficult if you've been trained right, because essentially it's just wiring. When I did it, it was just wiring containment, wiring up a few bits and pieces, doing a bit of two-way switching. You know, they weren't really that strict. The testing portion of it was handed to you on a plate. That was my experience. But since I've heard there's a different thing going on now where actually they give you you can pay, I think it's like 800 quid or something, and you get a week pre-AM2 course.
Wow.
Where you get to practice the AM2 a week before, like a refresher, like I don't know, an intensive course. Do you remember the intensive driving test?
Yes.
When you was a kid, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to do the intensive one, get it done in a week. Do you know what I mean? So you do the intensive AM2, and then you take your AM2 the next week, boom, it's all there. So essentially, that's not, you know how to do the bits on the AM2, but can you do them in any scenario outside of the AM2 booth? This is the problem. And what you're getting is people with all the tickets. Like, I worked out that I could take someone off the street and get them a gold card probably in 6 months with no electrical knowledge.
You could see that happening, couldn't you? Certainly, with just some of the.
Definitely do it. I could definitely do it. Put them on a site, they'd be screwed. They'd be screwed. They'd get found out straight away.
And that's the issue, isn't it? They would get found out straight away, so they tend to end up in the domestic area when people have gone down that route, which I think, which kind of feeds into the problem still.
And there's so many things that feed into going into like a domestic situation. There's like that, can only be bought with experience, and you know, working with an experienced person who's actually willing to pass that knowledge out of their brain verbally through their mouth into your brain. And you know, it's little things like, I don't know, you've got some lights up, and one don't, and you turn them on, they don't turn on. It's only got 12 volts or less than 240 going through it, and you're like, oh, why is that? There's a neutral out somewhere. Every single
Yeah.
time it'll be a neutral out. Put that in, it all lights up. Now things like that, you would know in your head, because you're a seasoned spark. It's a neutral. Drop the lights. Let's find the neutral that's popped out. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But for someone fresh out of one of these quick courses, they're gonna be scratching their heads, walking around. Well, it could be this, you know.
Yeah.
Getting a book, phoning up, googling GSH electrical. What's going on? Do you know what I mean? That's what they'll be doing. That's the problem with the apprenticeship at the moment. It's fragmented, it's unregulated, and I think across the electrical industry, this is the same problem. There is no sort of, it's regulated but not really. It's a bit of the Wild West, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'd like to see it more employer led. So employers like T. Clark's, like Neil's, UK's Rail, like Nick Bundy, and myself on a smaller scale. People like that really taking the lead on training the next generations of apprentices up. So you can teach them the nuances of working safely in commercial and domestic environments, but it does need the funding. Looking at coming back towards a different angle on it. There's a lot of older guys in the game who don't have an apprenticeship but are perfectly able and capable electricians, but they could never actually sit the NVQ again, because why the hell should they have to? And also that perhaps some of them aren't as good with the old textbooks as perhaps they should be. Very competent on the tool. Yeah, very competent on the tools. There's people who you would trust your life on to wire a factory or your house up properly, but to ask them to tell you why they're using a particular cable type or containment method and the regulations regarding it, they wouldn't be able to do it. And that doesn't make them bad electricians. That's just the nature of how they were trained a long time ago. And the fact that they can't get gold cards in that instance, is a bit of a shame to it, I think, because they are actually competent and professional electricians.
It's funny because there's people out there that will argue, you back up your competency with a qualification. Now that's all well and good, but I know as well as anyone, you've got like super geniuses that are on the tools, like can do anything. Bend a bit of tube into a chair. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
With one bit of tube,
yes.
And they can do that. They can look at the wall and they know exactly what angle bends to do, and like a real odd way, they go on the bend and go bosh 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 bosh, put that up to the wall. And you're like, how have you done that?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Guys do that. It's incredible, isn't it?
But they don't have a clue about the latest regs amendments and the on-site guide and stuff like that. They're like, no, I know what I'm doing. Like they know what they're doing. Their practical application of knowledge is beyond that of people that know the regs inside and out. And you're always going to have that dichotomy across the industry. You're going to have super practical people, and you're going to have super smart people. And what happens is those practical people, they stay at the lower levels where they're working with the guys, and not necessarily on the tools, but they'll be their problem solving on the ground, like as management supervisor, foreman, project manager, something like that. And then the other guys will become designers and go up the chain that way, or business owners, or even, but what I'm saying is with those type of people, how important is the gold card when it comes to their knowledge? It doesn't mean a thing.
No.
So, and there is that mentality that runs through the industry. Gold card don't mean nothing. It bloody does.
Still does today. You're right. I mean, how many sites are you going to get on without it? If you've been honest, as an electrician, you might get on them as an improver or a labourer or whatever they call them these days, but you're not going to get on as a spark, are you?
No, you're not. Like I'm working with a guy now, Mick. His name is grumpy old bastard, but very nice guy. He started out in the coal mines, years and
Really?
years ago. Yeah, he was a miner down in Ashford. Is it Ashford? I don't know. Down the way somewhere, and he was a miner. And when the mines closed, he come out of the mines, bummed about a bit, got into electrical. Boom. He doesn't like anything to do with like the books or anything like that. But I tell you what, he schooled me more than once. He knows it inside and out. He ain't super confident about it. He'll go and ask the boss, right, is this, and this? And they'll ask him the same question 50 times just to make sure it's in his head. Then he'll go and apply it, and it'll be better than anyone else's you've seen. And he's consistent. You show him how to do one, every single one will be exactly the same of a good level, done properly. Now he earns, I don't know, 3-4 quid less than an electrician working next to him. Why?
Is a good point if he's producing the right quality of work, and it boils down to the fact that people have often been left out through education when they were younger. They didn't get the chances that we did, maybe, so they're not as au fait with multi-choice exams, or they don't have the inclination to want to do them. And now, because they don't have that bit of paper and gold card, they can't earn the same money. Is it fair? Probably not. But I guess industry has to put a mark somewhere, I suppose, don't they? I think.
But I don't have the answer either. But like, I was just thinking, imagine if they had like JOB assessors that come to site, someone like him, and they work with him for a week. So they just
Yes.
shadowed him for a week. And they're like, asked him questions, and if he knows the answers and stuff like that, and watched his work and went, and whether they could award him like a honorary gold card or something that will get him paid as an electrician. I don't know. Is that like? But I'll get absolutely crucified for that. Do you know what I mean? Because people will be like, "No, he's got to go and learn all the regs and all that." Maybe he has got to do the 18th edition. Show he's got the 18th edition, and then have someone shadow him and say, "Right, let's see what your work's about." It's a funny thing.
It is, and for every person that's like that, we're looking at the practical side, there'll be loads of people who've got more bits of paper after the day and qualifications going, but chuck them on site and they'd be useless. So it works. But I've seen both sides of that. I've seen some of the most qualified and knowledgeable people you could imagine to do with the electrical industry. They will know the far end of a fart about every single breaker and board and the reasons why you would use it, and how you design it, but ask them to go onto site and install it. And these are people who are supposed to be electricians, and they couldn't do it.
It's a funny thing because actually I don't know what the answer is. I haven't got a clue. I know what the problems are,
Yeah.
and I know what some of the solutions could be, but really and truly, where the industry is quite fragmented in terms of like its leadership. So when you look at the not really governing bodies, there isn't really one, but if we're going to call them something, let's call them the governing bodies. When you look at someone like the NIC, the ECA, even Unite, the union to a certain extent because they represent the sparks and the tools. When you see that, how much like you don't really get any engagement because they're so worried about criticism damaging their brand.
Yes.
And actually, that engagement is essential, I think, because although they're getting the feedback, they're very slow to react to the feedback. They have that, but on the flip side, they add incredible value to the industry, and they're playing this game where they're adding value to the industry, taking as much as they can out, but there's no sort of there's very little interaction. There's very little dialogue between electricians on the coalface and these governing bodies. And I don't think they're doing enough to sort of galvanise the industry. I think it's quite, dare I say it, selfish of them, the way they're playing it. I mean, they know what they're doing has gotten to the party up until now. Why can't they change it and give it a go, talking to people and trying to like understand what's good? Now, what really worries me, and if we talk about someone like the IET, they're starting to interact. They're trying to, talk to people in the know, talk to people, who've got a big voice in the industry, trying to find out and have these conversations to sort of find out what's going on the ground. And what you're actually finding is they don't know stuff that's quite alarming, like buying an MVQ. The MVQ level 3 is like the baseline for everything. Spark Safe, another one. They didn't know about you could go and buy an MVQ level 3.
Yeah.
And that's a really damaging thing. If you could go and buy an MVQ level 3 in a legitimate fashion, so where there's no sort of repercussion for doing that, there's no it's not worth any less than someone who's worked for it, that devalues everything in the apprentice scheme, and therefore devalues the qualification across the board. So when you've got people like Unite and Rank and File saying, listen, you're only a gold card if you've done an apprenticeship, if you've done the MVQ and you've done it like how we say, or you've got the JOB dishing out gold cards based on this certain set of criteria, but you can buy that certain set of criteria, and no one's sort of taking on the fact that you can buy this criteria, so it devalues everything. Like if I was a savvy electrician's mate, I would just go and pay 1,500, save up, pay 1,500 quid for that, for the MVQ level 3. Bosh, got that. As soon as I get my gold card, I'll earn that money back in a month.
Yeah.
But say you've done it easy, right? So you've done it easy, you got it. Now 3 months later, you've bought that MVQ back out your money, because you're going to earn another 250 quid a week. Do you know what I mean? So it's just nonsense.
This is one of the reasons I wanted you on, for that honest talk. That's the whole idea of this Apprentice Once Upon podcast, is to get people speaking honestly about what it's actually like. And what you've just described is a scenario I'm aware of happening, because there's apprentices who've been in touch through Instagram asking, can we go down this route and just pay to get it finished, because I can't find an employer. The college is going to get rid of my place anyway. I don't want to have wasted the last 2 or 3 years. I'm just going to, bang it on a credit card, get the qualification, and off I go. And, you're trying to tell those people, don't do that, stick with it. But you can totally see that point of view with the way the systems.
Why stick with it?
Yeah.
You're in a class, right? So you and your mates, you're in a classroom, you're in a WhatsApp group now. So everyone, out of 10 of you, 5 of you have lost your apprenticeship. You're kicking about. You've got 6 months left of your course. You're so close to your gold card, you can taste it. And then one of them goes, mate, I'm buying it. I'm going to have my gold card in a month. And you go, nah, I'm going to do mine the right way. I'm going to do it no matter what. And if it takes me 2 more years, I'll do that. Okay, great. That's good for you. But why would they do that when their mate has just gone out and bought it? And now he's got his gold card. I'm working as a spark, mate. Because it devalues everything. Okay, you can say, well, you've got to have a bit of self-respect and do it properly. Why?
That's the economic reality, isn't it? That people are faced with those decisions, that you've got a family to feed, or you want to get on in life and start earning decent money. And it's not your fault that you can't complete this training. You have, tried to go down the right road, but been prevented. I don't blame anybody who is making that decision at the moment, although I am trying to encourage them not to. I don't blame them.
This is what I'm saying. It's not an illegitimate route either, because it exists to buy it. If you go on a website and buy it, and it's all accredited, it's all City and Guilds accredited, or EAL, or whatever it is, it's all accredited. It's good. It's good.
And that's why we need to have these honest discussions, because there's people like you say, like the IET and like SparkSafe, who maybe don't have their head in the sand, but they're not aware of these things, or at least they say they're not. And why not? Because everybody in the trade is. We all see it happening. What are they actually doing to try and help us change that and make it better? What
about City and Guilds and EAL? Like, they're like, oh, look, like, it's like when your dog poos in front of someone, you sort of look away, like, what's that over there? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't see it. What? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know that's happening. There's no way these organisations don't know that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Stop it. So you're allowing that to happen. So by allowing that to happen, you're legitimising that route.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is making a mockery of the system. And until things like that are addressed, there's no point addressing anything else. So first and foremost, we've got to address the MVQ issues, the training, the refresher course for the AM2 is the second thing, and then by virtue that should sort out the short courses, because like to do a short course and then buy an MVQ, you can't do. You've got to go out and you've got to do the time, put the time into the book, do the work for the book, get your portfolio done, then present it to the correct people and get your qualification the right way. All the time you can go out and buy an MVQ level 3. Why wouldn't you?
It's it's hard to argue with, isn't it? It really is.
Listen,
really
when I was doing this, like doing my one, the thought, like all I could probably think about at the time was, I need a new van, because I had my own van. As an apprentice, I still have my van, and that I want a new van. I want the new VW Transporter or whatever it is, and then I want new wheels on it, and I want a full DeWalt kit. I want it all racked out. And I'm like an obsessive fiend about stuff like that. If it gets in my head, until I bought it, like it's all I can think about. And I'd be thinking about that, and I'd be like, 6 months doing MVQ, or I can just legitimately buy it off this website. Well, I'm buying it. It'd be bought.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing at the time. It's a mental situation that you can go and buy a qualification that really should take you 6 months to a year.
Yes, absolutely, it is. It is. I want to bring it away from that for a second though, because I couldn't have you come onto the podcast without talking about tools of some sort. I asked Matthew the same question. It's not the same as your EGTE questions. It's a little bit different. If there is still any apprentices listening, a lot of them are asking, what's the best tool setup to get at the startup. So say you've got 100 quid in your pocket, and you want to get sorted out with a basic hand tool set to use in the college, what would your recommendation be? Having been a seasoned spark on the tools, what would you suggest they go to?
Go and get a decent pair of croppers, not side cutters. Get a decent pair of croppers. Get a pair of side cutters, because it's good to use both, get a feel for them. I would stay away from... Not stay away, that's wrong. I never liked CK. They do great quality stuff. It's fine. It's just when I was buying CK, their screwdrivers, like these apprentices won't know who this character is, but Ronald McDonald, and I felt like the screwdrivers reminded me of Ronald McDonald days at McDonald's, and I just can't stand looking at them. So I always used to have barcode screwdrivers. Now, my choice now is Weeha. Like, I will be going for. I've got a new bag, and I'm gonna be stocking it up with Weeha tools. I think they look beautiful to look at. There's just the way they're machined and stuff. It's really sad, isn't it? But they're just nice looking things, and they're really good quality. I think they're on par with Nipex, in my opinion. They're just, I don't know. I like them. I like Weeha at the moment. I'm fully in. On Weeha, their screwdrivers are very good. I'm probably not even saying the name right.
I get it wrong as well. I've been told it is Weeha. I was saying Weeha for ages, but it is Weeha. You're right.
Yeah. I like their stuff. I like Weeha stuff.
Good shout. It's nice gear. I've got a lot of the Weeha stuff myself, and like you say, the screwdrivers are decent. The torque drivers from them are much easier to adjust and work with for me. So that's a good shout. If also, go on, carry on.
Don't buy Weera.
No.
Don't skint yourself buying Weera when you're an apprentice, and I'll tell you why. Because you will lose it. You will be leaving it in the ceiling on somewhere, and you'll be paying 35 quid for another spanner. It's that simple.
I think
go cheap as an apprentice.
Every Spark our age has got a whole tool set left on site or in someone's loft or under someone's floorboards. By our age, it's going to happen.
Listen, the worst story I've got is I've got out my time, and at the time these 10.8 Makitas were really sexy thing to have, the 10.8 stuff. So I had a CK Magma bag because I liked the look of them at the time. I had it all kitted out with Barco stuff inside, all Barco, because that was popular. I had Irizola screwdrivers.
Nice.
They're still about in some form or another, but
Not as
you
good.
know, they were my favourite screwdrivers. I had that. I had my bag. I had everything you needed in it. And I walked onto a job in Pearly Tesco's. First day on the job, said, "Yeah, leave your bag there, mate." Put my bag down. Went to the toilet. Come back, my bag was gone. What had happened? Travellers come round from the way and put on a couple of high vis, walked round and picked up everyone's tool bag, walked out again.
Nice, Jesus. It's gutting, innit? I bet you were mortified at the time. You're laughing now, but I bet you was not laughing that day.
No, I just went home. I was like, "I've got no tools, mate. I'm going home, and you're paying me." That was gutting. So my advice would be, you're going to go for a couple of sets before you get responsible with your tools. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Nice. That's a good shout. And also, just while we leave this one, what would be your suggestion on someone who's just finished their apprenticeship and they're now trying to get a start somewhere? Because there's a lot of people who've got in touch trying to get a start in the game. They've got their NVQs, they've got the gold card, but they're struggling to. I mean, I know it's difficult now anyway, but in normal times, what would be your go-to suggestion for someone just trying to build their way in?
There's two ways. There's the easy way and the hard way. And it's as simple. One, if you know someone, get on one of the WhatsApp groups, one of the job sharing WhatsApp groups. They exist. Sparks Link is the best run one. It's if you want, like anyone who's listening to this needs to get on a Sparks Link or get onto one of these job sharing platforms, hit me up. Mark will put the details in the show notes.
Sure,
hit me up for that, and I'll get you put on it. That's an easy way. There is a agency list that can be provided, which I'll provide Mark with. I'll give you the agency list. It's a name and number of all the agencies in and around London. So that's a powerful list, and it comes down to that's the easy way. So getting on a job sharing platform, and getting the agents and calling around and registering with all the agencies, and then just churning the agencies every day until you get a job. You will get a job. Getting a job in the electrical industry is like anything, directly proportionate to the amount of effort you put into it. Now, you'll get an agency job, no problem. If I moved down here, started looking for a job down there, within a day I had a job around the corner. So I've moved from London, no contacts down here, phoned up agency, got a job in a day. So it's really easy. Now, the way I'd recommend, and it has its drawbacks, but if you want to earn good money and you want to, let me preface this with working on the agency is not a career. Let's just get this out of the way. If you work on an agency as thinking that's going to be a career, you're going to have a very sad, very unhappy career. 9 times out of 10. There's some people that will get through. There always is, but I would not recommend that. It's soul destroying. You're disposable, and what you don't realize is that will catch up with you. That feeling of being disposed, dropped on a Friday, dropped a week before Christmas, dropped a month before Christmas. You get dropped a month before Christmas. You get pumped a month before Christmas. There's very little chance you're going to get another job before Christmas. That's your Christmas ruined if you ain't planned for it. Now, second piece of advice around agency work. Don't live paycheck to paycheck. Give yourself options. Go and get a pot of money. Save money up. If you're going to go on the agency circuit, have some money in the bank. You do not want to be beholden to the arseholes that you will meet on these jobs. And they have that power over you. Get off my job. Get your tools and fuck off. That is what they have over you. And if you're desperate and you put yourself in a desperate position by living from paycheck to paycheck, you will find yourself becoming resentful, and the same old thing will be said. This industry's fucked. I should have become a plumber. No, you shouldn't have. It's the greatest industry in the world. What you have to do is you have to plan for these things. So if you find yourself in the position where you're on the agency, save up as quickly as possible. Give yourself options. Be able to take that knock on a Friday, and not be absolutely effed for the rest of the month. That's really, really important. That's my top piece of advice for agency life. Secondly, get off the agency as fast as you can. Now, the best way of doing this is if you go to a job and the agency and it's you're not getting paid the right money, you're not happy with the hours and whatever. Don't go to that job. This goes against all beliefs of agency workers. Don't go to that job and just use it as what we call using it as a phone box. So you go there, you don't do any work, you just ring round for the next job. You will find that doesn't get you anywhere. Go there, do the best you can, put in a good shift. And by doing the best you can, this is a winner's mentality. I've talked to loads of people about this. I'm not saying I'm a winner. I'm not saying it, but I've seen this work for people. Go there, put in a good shift, be proud of yourself, and good things will come from the fact that you put in a good shift. You've done it for yourself. Don't do it for the boss. Don't do it for the money. Do it for yourself. Get that mindset right. And to get off the agency, what I would suggest people do is get on Google, create a list of local companies. Every single local company you can find, create a list, and start being your own agency. Be your own agency, and before long, you'll have 5 or 6 people that you work with regularly. And because you've been putting in, like you've got into a rhythm of going on to a job and doing the best you can. Before you know it, you don't deal with agencies no more. You're dealing direct, whilst you're dealing direct, you're doing a good job. They're starting to rely on you, and you go, mate. By the way, my rate's going up in at the end of the month, so it's going to be $250 a day instead of $220 a day. And they'll either go, oh, I can't afford it, and at which point, you've got options because you've got money in the bank. You've got 5 other people you can go and talk to. You can start empowering yourself that way. Do not get caught in the trap of, walking off a job and picking up the phone and going to another one with agencies. It is a soul-destroying life, and that is my experience. I'm not saying it's everyone's, but I would say it's a lot of people, and I don't like to give out advice. I don't have any answers. I'm a misfit in life, but trust me, that is one thing I've learned is the agency mentality will get you sad, resentful, and disenfranchised with the industry. Don't take that mentality. Go to a site, do the best you can, keep hammering, go to site, do the best you can, put in your best effort, and then when something else comes along, you'll go there, you'll do the best, and eventually you'll get picked up, and you'll make a name for yourself, and you won't be working for the agency for long.
That is brilliant advice, Sam, and thanks for being so honest and suggesting those things, because there's a lot of people who just want to say what they think are the right things, and I know with you what you say is what you honestly feel, and that is sound advice that you've given that a lot of people will get benefit from. So I just want to thank you again for all of your help through Apprentice 1-to-1. I want everybody to know that the sexy logo of Apprentice 1-to-1 is this man's handiwork. He put time in to get that sorted, because I am terrible, literally the worst person in the world to be in charge of branding anything. And Sam's really pulled it out of the bag there, because it looks fantastic. So thank you very much for sorting that. And I know everyone's going to know who you are anyway, but you always say this to your guests, so I'm going to say this to you. Where can people find you? What have you got coming up that's exciting? Where can we find out more about Sam and all your exciting adventures?
So we do Monday Club, obviously. Everyone knows us through Monday Club. Well, people who listen to Monday Club know us, not everyone. But yeah, so Monday Club. So you can find us on Instagram under EGTE Podcast or Electricians Podcast. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We're on all of them. All you've got to do is type in EGTE Electricians Podcast, something like that. We'll come up. We'll be there. That's me, really.
Nice one. Thank you very much for doing it, Sam. And
no worries. It's
I'll
been
chat
an
with you.
Pleasure.
Lovely. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for chatting honestly, and I'll see you on Monday Club next week.
Thank you, mate.
Catch you later.